the search for the most rewarding yield-bearing stablecoin in actual DeFi is always running. So there are centralized ones, i.e. USDC, USDT, majorly DAI, BUSD, and you have decentralized, over-collateralized stablecoins on-chain. There are so many of them. Now today, I'm gonna discuss one in particular called Real USD, also known as USDR. So the whole ecosystem behind USDR, because it didn't start that way, it started as something else, but then it added USDR to its ecosystem, and it built and it acquired a lot of wealth because of it. So the focus on today's video will be this part of Tangible, not the full scope of Tangible.store, but we're gonna discuss, of course, bits and pieces, and I'm planning to make this a series. So I'll release videos on Tangible.store, as we go. And I really wanted to do this. I postponed it for so long, but here we go. If you hop right now on our Telegram group, you're gonna see a lot of discussion about actual DeFi protocols. And the issue is that with so many messages, most of these things go unseen, and most of the information, is still under wraps. So the majority of the reason behind this video and the series of doing this and everything else that's gonna come up next in regards to actual DeFi protocols is to get people introduced to the concept of earning real, actual money from things that are rendered as service on chain. So you're not just going in, taking other people's shares, aka other people's money. You're actually earning something that is generated based on usage, actual usage. And that's pretty important. So, like I said, today's focus will be mainly on the stablecoin aspect of Tangible.store and how to earn with it, and how does it even exist? How is the collateral doing? What is the collateral? What is the idea behind all of this? Now, I cannot just speak about USDR before introducing the whole ecosystem. So Tangible.store runs on the Polygon chain. So that's the original place where Tangible runs on. So when they started this, they only had one native asset, TNGBL, and that native asset served as basically the centerpiece of everything that goes on the platform. So, for example, the idea behind Tangible, as the name suggests, is to tokenize something physical, i.e. real estate and other types of products. But the majority of their tokenized action flows back into real estate. So by earning Tangible, you're kind of earning a portion of the fee acquired by the platform through their, physical purchases and their physical dealing, so on and so forth. There's also an NFT that you can mint with TNGBL, and you can earn USDC from it. So the whole concept was a bit different. They created a concept called 3.3+, and they followed through. Now, Real USD came in as a way to basically acquire that stablecoin and actually earn on it, beating inflation definitely, and earn a bit more or a lot more on top depending on your strategy and how money is being moved around. So the idea of Real USD is that it's mainly backed by tokenized real estate, of course, among others assets that derives its value. But the idea is that it needs to back by tokenized real estate. Now, tokenized real estate is one thing that was taken into consideration because the real estate market, if we're talking about overall growth, the curve keeps on going up in terms of demand, in terms of valuation, so on and so forth. So real estate is one of those investments that will never go away, and it's, regarded by some as the most sound investment there is, even better than gold. Now, of course, we're not going to get into the argument if that's the case or not, but in general, real estate is on the top of the line when it comes to investing your money into something that will be long lasting. Now, how to acquire USDR? So you mint it using DAI. So that's the purpose. That's the initial starting point. Now that DAI in the original flywheel, so to speak, is going to be used to buy those real estate. Now USDR will always keep its peg, and just by holding USDR, you are entitled to 5 to 6% in USDR, that's the APR, plus 10% APR in tangible tokens. So overall, we're talking about 15 to 16%. That doesn't mean that the value will be exactly that. So you can be sure that the 5 to 6% in USDR, yes, it will be based on the value you provided or the value you minted. But the tangible part, not so much, because tangible is a native asset on chain. Price can fluctuate greatly depending on supply, demand, amongst other things. So overall, those rental properties will basically be rented out, and then rent money will flow back into the system and be distributed accordingly. Now that distribution will be touched based on real soon. So that is the whole premise of real USD. That's how you mint it, and that's how you earn on it. There's another way to earn on USD if you want to pair it with another stable asset, mainly USDC or USDT, and you can stake that pair on V33 chain dexes, across all chains based mainly layer 2s, mainly Ethereum layer 2s, and you can chase the highest yield there. So usually, if you think about it, if a yield on a V33 DEX is higher than the native yield in USDR and tangible, then it makes sense to go there. Once that number drops, then it's better to hold that USDR anyway, because that yield is more or less fixed. It doesn't fluctuate much. So 10% intangible is fixed. The USDR could fluctuate, of course, depending on the supply, on the backup, and on the circulating number of USDR coins. So overall, that's the generic concept. But for you to go into USDR blindly, that's not the way, all right? So you need to understand how the peg is kept, what to look at when it comes to peg variation, peg evaluation, and you need to understand where that money is going. Now, there are a few things to get into here, because if I want to list the collateral backup ways, I can do that, but let's just explain this a bit more. So even though, like I said at the beginning, you mint with DAI, that DAI buys rental properties, some money flows back in, there is 20% kept in DAI at all times that you can redeem, because you can mint with DAI and you can redeem USDR with DAI, and that USDR gets burned when you redeem. So you get that DAI in return. So there is 20% of the total collateral ratio right now in DAI. That's about 13.5 million, just FYI. So this is most probably the most liquid option. Correction, it is the most liquid option, meaning you can get that on the spot, on the go, whenever you want. So that is something that you need to follow. So as long as that reserve is healthy, means there will always be DAI that you can acquire whenever you need to. So just make sure to keep in mind that if that reserve were to drop heavily, quickly, you have to assess your decisions then. Now, there are also other backup liquid options that are either on par or a bit less liquid, So you have one, the protocol on liquidity, so meaning that's USDR paired with other assets, other stable coins. So that is there, that generates fees, that essentially is used for buybacks for the majority of the tokens in the ecosystem, which again, we're not getting into today. We're only talking about USDR. And that's also about 20%. So far we have two good liquid options, 40% collateral. And we move on to another liquid option, the insurance fund. That's about 9 to 10%. So overall, 50% of the backup right now is very liquid and can be immediately converted to cash. And that's pretty important. The insurance fund is also acquired through many other outlets, i.e. protocol fees, also liquidity fees. So there are so many ways that this insurance fund is being built up. Now, I'm not sure if this is also being used to generate more money. I'll look into that later on. And the majority of backup comes from real estate properties, which makes sense because the value proposition of real USD is that it's backed by tokenized real estate. So rental income comes back in to enter the insurance fund and the DAI reserve, so on and so forth. So that's the premise. And that option is not so liquid because if you want to sell a property, it's not so easy. Lots of bureaucratic stuff, and you also have to go into finding a buyer for this property. Now there is a list of available properties on the website. You can check that out. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind that you're trusting a third party to take into account your funds and own these properties and give the proper valuation, because the money that you see in terms of how much this property is valued could be either overstated or understated. What I mean here, did they take into account the current valuation, or the worst potential valuation, or the best potential valuation? So that is unknown, to be honest. And there is 23% intangible tokens that can also be sold at any time. So you can consider this as a somewhat liquid option, not so much, but it's also possible. It exists if need be, of course. So if you add the percentages up, and right now if you go to the website and you scroll down and you click on here, view stats, you'll see that tangible or USDR is backed at an over-collateralized ratio of 118.8%. But keep in mind that if we're talking about super liquidity option, that's 50 to 75%. And that's not too bad, unless there's like a major bank run that comes out of nowhere, then we should be fine, we should be safe, all right? And the idea of having USDR and earning on it upwards to 25% on V33 dexes is what keeps people from redeeming it. So if I have an asset that is pegged to the dollar and that can earn me that much, then why the hell would I redeem it? As long as reserves are healthy, as long as the people in charge are doing what they're supposed to be doing and they are trusted. And here comes the risk here. Because of the higher yield than other stable coins are offering, there's risk, of course. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. So you have to keep in mind that in terms of liquid collateral, it's not 100%. That's one. Two, you have to trust the valuation. You have to trust the properties that they are delivering as they're saying they are. That's two. And you also have to trust that things will keep going as they are and they're not printing more money out of thin air. That's very important. But that can be also verified on chain. So there's a lot of calculations there that you can do. So they have their public wallet, so on and so forth. But anyways, I think for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to introduce basically tangible. I wanted to basically make you aware that this exists. The conversation was brought up on Telegram, but still I wanted to emphasize and make this video. Please give it a watch. It has valuable information for you. And if you have any questions, you can reach out on Telegram anytime. And again, if you're not part of our group, make sure you join. Pretty cool people, pretty cool place to chill. Lots of valuable information circling around. So it's quite recommended. And with that, see you in the next one. Have a good one.